Hello everyone, I'm Lorraine Driscoll and this is another episode of Building Better Brains, where each week I talk about the root causes of why your child might be struggling with learning, reading, and behavior, and what are some solutions that reach way beyond the limitations of IEPs, medication, and endless tutoring. Today I want to talk, I'm going to veer off a little bit from what we were talking about in the last few weeks in terms of brain development and brain organization and brain integration therapy. And I want to just talk about something really simple in lieu of Father's Day coming up this weekend. And that is how dads just do it better with certain things. And we know that moms are awesome. We know that moms just are amazing and they make so much stuff work. But I do find that dads sometimes kind of get left their role or their contribution kind of just gets really easily forgotten or cast aside. And that they are overwhelmed and stressed too, right? That they definitely have a lot on their plate, and that sometimes because we are not seeing it from their perspective, we don't always notice that as women. And I was going through a lot of research actually and articles in the last couple of weeks, and I noticed, or I was kind of interested or fascinated by what all these experts had found how dads parent differently than moms. And obviously both genders bring, something totally different to the table in terms of parenting and child development and all that type of stuff. But I think that there's certain things that dads do that we moms can really learn from, both with our children and so forth. And I also want to mention before I get into it that I'm a firm believer in balance. And I think that that's why it's so great that dads bring that. And that so often we assume because they're not parenting like us that it's wrong or it's not the optimal way, without realizing that they're kind of balancing something that we're bringing to the table, and they're kind of offsetting it to kind of create that balance. So number one, the first thing that dads do that they're apparently, according to research, are a lot better at than moms is they set the bar higher with their children. They have higher expectations, or they know they're capable of more. And if they know they're capable of more, they tend to expect their children to meet that expectation. Whereas moms, because we're more wired to be aware of all the details and to be more emotionally sensitive, we're more likely to be like, yeah, I know he could get there, but whereas dads will just be like, no, he's totally capable of this. This is nonsense and so forth. Number two, other thing that dad is really good at compared to moms. And again, this is totally stereotyping, right? This is not a hard and fast rule. But number two is boundaries. So in general, men or dads tend to be better at setting boundaries with their children in terms of discipline and so forth. And researchers found one of the main reasons for this is because men are kind of just tend to be less sensitive to the details of emotions and social connections and so forth, because we as women are very much hardwired to always try to maintain social equilibrium, to maintain those social relationships. We're more likely to take it personally if our child is mad at us or upset with us, whereas dad's like, whatever, it'll blow over. I know it's certainly like that with me. I'm fine with setting boundaries, but it really bothers me when my daughter is upset with me. And so men also connecting to those boundaries, they see it as their almost role to be tougher with their kids. We sometimes think, you're being too hard on him or being too hard on her. And they see it as this is my job to prepare them for life. We can't just, cater to their feelings all the time. And so this tends to create more follow through, and is also why moms are often frustrated saying the kids listen better to him than to me. And we do know there's more than one reason for that, right? The kids tend to see more of mom and they don't test dad as much and all that, but also because they know that dad is more likely to just be black and white with boundaries and so forth. Number three, men are problem solvers. Ladies, we know this, right? You go to your husband because you've, had something at work happen or whatever, and you just want to vent and talk about your feelings. And what does he do? He tries to solve the problem, right? It's the root of so many arguments. I don't want you to fix the problem. I just want you to listen. However, men being problem solvers is actually a wonderful thing for our kids, right? It's great that we as women can often mirror and help them process feelings, but kids know they can also go to dad to literally help them fix the problem. And more than that, not just when kids have a problem that they need help with, but also dads encourage their kids to be problem solvers, to like figure it out on your own, right? Whereas moms, according to research, are more likely to come to their child's rescue and dive in and see how they can fix the problem for them. Dads are more likely to kind of going back to that, this is how you're going to survive in the real world, figure it out, it's your problem. And so this is actually really important for brain development, right? Like they're saying that kids today, among many things, are really not showing the same level of problem solving skills as previous generations. And this really developing problem solving skills only occurs by having to solve the problem yourself, not by someone else doing it for you. So this is really important to cognitive development and all kinds of stuff. And more than that, dads encourage their kids to take risks more, right? Moms are like a lot more concerned with safety. And obviously we need that. And not to say that dads are totally reckless, but they're more likely to push the line a little bit. And we do know that there's ridiculous risk, but then there's risk that helps to build confidence, right? And so dads are more likely to not be as concerned with all the finer details of every possibility that could go wrong, whether it's our child's physical safety or their kind of emotional safety and so forth. And that is what builds confidence, right? We do not build confidence by not taking risks. So dads are really good at helping to build confidence. Number 4, dads are doers, right? We know this, that men are more action orientated. If a man wants to connect with a woman, he wants to do something with her, he wants to take her out somewhere. A woman is fine just sitting around talking all day or all night. And so when they spend time with their children, it tends to be more action orientated. And what I thought was really interesting is that it's not that women don't do stuff with their kids, but when we do stuff with our kids, we tend to plan kid orientated activities. So we'll be like, let's take the kids to, I don't know, this water park, or let's plan this type of birthday party, and it's all kid orientated, where dad wants to involve the kids in his adult world more. So let's take him fishing, let's take him camping, I'm going to build a shed, he can help me with that. So kids learn, are really fortunate to learn real life, real world skills from dad, and kind of almost can be made to feel like I'm special, dad's including me in this adult activity. Number 5, again, total stereotype, but there is actually quite a bit of research on this. Believe it or not. And again, stereotypical, but still pretty interesting. About 80% of men are more optimistic, not as hard on themselves, more laid back than women. And we know this, right? Women are constantly, like, mom guilt is just synonymous with motherhood. And not that dads don't have guilt, but it doesn't eat them up. It doesn't drive their every action and choice and so forth the way it does with moms. And because they tend to be more chill, the kids really enjoy being around that, right? Where they're just like, dad doesn't care. Dad's more likely to be more spontaneous and probably not to overplan as much. Like if my husband's going to plan a trip to the beach, it's like, okay, grab a couple snacks and some towels and we're gone. And if I'm going to plan a trip to the beach, like I totally admit there's going to be way more stuff than we need. And I start getting stressed because we don't have enough time to plan a trip to the beach. What do you mean we're going like in an hour? So dads tend to not kind of micromanage all those little things. And so it just brings a really nice element of optimism and so forth to the kids to just be more spontaneous and not to turn every, molehill into a mountain. So other ways that dads are, or another thing that I thought was really interesting was dads are less likely to succumb to social pressure compared to women. They are more likely to be like, I don't care about fitting in. I don't care what so-and-so is doing with their kid, or if they're paying for this or buying that. And women are more likely, because we're trained to be part of the social community, to make the community work, to have coherence and so forth. And so then we also start worrying that our child is not fitting in, or that they need this pair of shoes or this phone or whatever. And so dads are better at teaching their kid to, in some ways, at standing out, or, it's better to be accepted than to fit in. And also to say, okay, if they want X, Y, or Z, such as an iPhone, let them work for it, right? Again, going back to that, this will prepare them for life. So I thought that was really interesting, because that is definitely something I never thought of in terms of how men parent differently than women. Number 7, I just love this. Ladies, when it comes to self-care and self-care as a parent, dads crush it, right? They totally crush it. They will take a nap, no guilt. They will be like, yeah, let's send the kids to bed early, no guilt. They will do their own thing. And for the most part, no guilt. Women are terrible for that, whether it's taking a nap or just doing something for themselves. They always feel like they really should be doing this, whether it's taking care of the children or cleaning the house or whatever the case may be. And so dads really are, I think, phenomenal at this in valuing that their self-care is just as important as their children, that you can't pour from an empty cup, basically, is the concept, right? And also teaching their kids my needs matter as well. Teaching the kids that you're literally not the most important person in the world or the house, and that we all have to like take care of ourselves, and having the kids do their own thing. And I saw this hilarious meme, and it was because it was so true. It was about showed a picture of a dad taking a nap, and he had three or four children, and it said how dads parent differently than moms. And dad was taking a nap on the couch, but had all the kids drawing a really detailed sketch of him while he took a nap. So it was keeping the kids busy. The kids were having a blast, but he was totally taking care of himself. Whereas like moms would just feel like that would probably not be something that a mom would be so apt to consider doing. So from what I read is, I'm like, dads are really the original or the natural free range parent. And it's not that there's no parenting, they just parent differently, right? They believe it's more natural for them to instill real world, skills and so forth, and prepare them for the real world. Whereas women tend to be more concerned with the emotional well-being of their child. And not that dads aren't, but in a different perspective. And I think that that's just really cool. And I think that it's something that we can learn from as moms, so that we're not overburdening ourselves, and what we can help support our children through. And also how we can acknowledge sometimes the things that drive us nuts. Like when we ask our husband, to tidy up the house because we're at a conference all weekend, and they get the kids to do it, and it's really not that good of a job, but they've taught the kids to help contribute with the chores, right? So there's that kind of balance there. So I do want to acknowledge that while dads can be more laid back than moms, they definitely make enormous sacrifices. And what the research found is that where women tend to, like, their sacrifices tend to be more like detailed and focused on individual children who are struggling in the home at the moment, men are more focused on the family as a whole, as an entire unit, and sacrificing himself for like the greater good, so to speak, rather than like the individual parts. So that this can make it really easy to overlook for women who look at the individual parts to not see how they're maybe contributing to the whole. And so anyway, I thought it was really cool to do this before Father's Day, because I think dads bring something totally unique to the table, and it's so easy to overlook it because we're so darn busy with everything. So to all the dads out there, keep rocking it, and happy Father's Day. Thanks for watching.